Now, the best players in the world are good at three things, and three things that you're going to learn here today. And that is good low point control. They have a very good, consistent low point with every golf club in their bag. The second thing is that they're very good about squaring the club face up early. They get the golf club turned in a position where they can start to let the club release based off of their DNA, based off of their grip pattern, based off of the shot shape that they like to see come out of their window or that they're trying to achieve in that moment. But the third and final thing that they have is a very good understanding of how to release the golf club without having to turn the body through the hitting area, because that is a great way for you to lose speed and put your body in more of a compromised position. Now, I want to take a moment here and I want to have you look at this video of Tiger Woods from a face-on perspective where he's hitting one of his patented stingers. And I want you to look at how early he squares this club face up. That club face is turned in a position where it is looking at the golf ball 2-3 feet prior to the time he gets ready to make contact with it. But if you watch his wrists and his forearms through the point of contact, there's still a small amount of rotation that's occurring. Look at his right wrist at impact. Notice that it's in extension. Notice that it stays in extension and rotates ever so slightly through the completion of the release as the hands get outside the lead thigh. But when you look at this super slow motion, because of the camera angle, it looks like the club face is staying pointed down the target line for a long period of time. It's not happening. The club face is rotating, and you have to have it rotate. And you don't want to do this with big, robust body movements. What you want to have is a better understanding of how to use your spine, how to use your arms, your shoulders, and your wrists through the point of contact so that you can get command of these sorts of shots. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you here today with this little 3-ball drill that creates a good reference point and a good feel for what you just saw with Tiger Woods. I need a hand from you all at home. I know there's a lot of you at home that watch my videos and have not yet subscribed to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Just head down below, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you like today's video, leave us a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm always here to help. I'd love to help you. Let's get to work. Step number one, we're basically just gonna be working from a little small swing through our delivery position into impact. And we're gonna be focusing in on the position of the lead shoulder. We're gonna be focusing in on the wrists and the trail elbow to get there. Because what we're gonna be working on is getting the club face to square up early and getting our body into a position where it's gonna be optimal for us. Now, what we know in the golf swing is that your lead shoulder is your primary pivot point in the swing. It's the determining factor where the low point's going to be. Now, unfortunately, we don't swing the golf club lead arm only. We have to play golf with our trail hand on the golf club, which is generally our troublemaker. And what that does is it moves the pivot point to kind of where your armpit is. That's why when we take our setup, our ball position is off the logo on our chest, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get our low point somewhere between 3 and 5 inches in front of the golf ball. It can be a little bit more, it can be a little bit less. Now, so you understand that the position of the lead shoulder at impact and the position of the spine is going to help us influence the angle of attack in the low point. If we're trying to flight the golf ball down, then generally speaking, you're going to see that the shoulders are going to try to be more level at the point of contact. Okay, they're never going to be perfectly level. I understand that, okay? Your lead shoulder is going to be higher than your trail shoulder always. But you can reduce the tilt by thinking of one little minor adjustment, and that's your stance width. If you narrow up the stance a little bit, then it's easier for you to keep the spine from wanting to lean back. And that's what you see here with Tiger, is that he narrowed up the base a little bit and he's reducing that spine tilt. That's how he's controlling the low point and the angle of attack. Now, as we start getting further into the video, I'm gonna help you dial in what we're gonna see post-impact. But what we need to do here in step number one is we need to get comfortable with moving from just outside of our trail thigh with the toe of the club up to the sky, shifting our hips over to our lead side and opening them up. And I want you to bring that trail elbow all the way down in front of your belt loop. And once you feel that happen, I want you to square the club face by rotating your wrist down to where you feel like it's pointed down at the ground. And I want you to let the club fall down in there. I'm gonna try to feel like my lead shoulder is down. I'm gonna make sure that my trail wrist has got some extension in it and that my knuckles in my lead hand are back in behind my wrist bones. So notice how my wrist bones are closer to the target than my knuckles are. Okay? That position right there is a position that's helped us take loft off the golf club and helped us square the face up simultaneously. So we're gonna do 25 reps where we're getting connected to the position of the lead shoulder, the trail elbow, squaring the face. And you wanna be able to get to the point where you do it fairly smooth, like this. So much like the first step, we're gonna do another 25 reps here, but what you're gonna be shooting for is now you're gonna be going from that little small position just outside your trail thigh to impact and through. Now, the key here is to understand how the shoulders and the spine are gonna act as a more or less a shallowing move to your release. Because everything I've put in there so far has you in a steep sort of way, right? Your lead shoulder's on top of your lead ankle. There's very little tilt to the spine. You've got heaps and heaps of forward shaft lean. You've got that club at a position where you got to do something to get it up out of the ground, or it's going to go down in there and you're going to be taking these monster divots. Now, how the shoulders and the spine are going to work through the point of contact is what you're going to notice is that the spine actually starts to lean back as the arms are passing in front and the wrists are letting things go. Now, here at My Golf DNA, we teach what we call an arm independent release, where the body stops its moving and the arms go. We don't want you building a flighted golf shot by trying to hold on to loft or keep loft off the golf club by turning your body through the hitting area. That's a big misconception. And it's a misconception that I had when I was a kid learning how to play this game. I thought in order to hit trap cuts that I had to hold the face and turn my body really hard. And all that did was produce a lot of weak wipes off to the right. So what we're gonna do is we have to make sure that our arms and our wrists and our shoulders work through the low point and the completion of the release perfectly. So the club face rotates in small amounts so that it keeps itself rotating, not just to the point of contact and stops, but also keeps the loft off the golf club. So here's how it's gonna look at first, okay? We're gonna go slow and choppy, and we're gonna pick up the pace as we get really good at it. So I'm just outside my trail thigh, okay? Left shoulder, right elbow, square the face to impact. Now I'm gonna remember that my focus is on my lead wrist. So my knuckles are back in behind my wrist bones. I'm gonna tilt my spine back, okay? And as I'm doing that, I'm rotating these knuckles underneath my wrist bones. So I don't have any cupping at all in my lead wrist, and my trail wrist has actually still got some extension in it. That right there is all the rotation you need. This is exactly the reason why Tiger doesn't hit hard pulls or snap hooks, is because he has a very slow rate of closure that's very consistent with the path and the angle of attack that he brings to the table. So it's just a little small rotation of that lead wrist. So it still should be flat or slightly bowed. As the spine is leaning back, you rotate these knuckles underneath it ever so slightly, and you stop. Do 25 reps, build up some speed to it as you get proficient with it, and we can start actually hitting some little small shots to check to see if we're doing just fine. Square the face. Okay, I want you to go really slow. And yes, you should have all kinds of tension in your wrists and your forearms when you're doing it this slow, because you're trying to get yourself in the perfect spot, not just at contact, but after impact. So I'm gonna try to hit a little small shot here. Now, my ball went perfectly straight. It went 15, 20 yards. It didn't come off the ground. Why? Well, because I had that thing de-lofted. Notice that I didn't take a big divot. And yes, I feel all kinds of discomfort in my wrists and my forearms right now. I have very control or high control of my movement. I'm teaching myself where my de-lofting is coming from and where my rate of closure is coming from. And as I start to get proficient with this, I can start to shake out some of the tension and have the golf ball go a little bit further because the club is going to start to release. Okay, you can hear that sound, right? Now that golf ball went twice as far on nothing of a swing, right? But I now know that I'm hitting it nice and straight. If the ball is going too much to the left, or you're seeing it go way off to the right, then there's a pretty good chance that you didn't square it up early enough, or you didn't rotate enough. You need to go back to step number one and make sure that you get to impact perfectly. If you get to step number two, make sure that you can see the club working out in front of the body here and give it that small amount of rotation as it works its way through the completion of the release. So it's square it up early, get the body in the right spot, and let the shoulders and the spine help influence the stability in the club face, but keep that wrist turning ever so slightly, kind of like you're turning a doorknob, and you'll see that you can hit really tight shots. And what we're gonna do in step number three is we're gonna take this and just build into it. All right, so step number 3 is not where we just take and throw away the 50 reps that we just did. Step number 3 is where we start hitting the golf ball, but we're gonna increase the speed here by getting ourselves to move a little bit more dynamically, adding a little bit of weight shift and body turn. And the goal here is to see the body positions at impact and to see that release position post-impact. And as you start to get proficient with this, shake the tension out and let the hands and the arms and the shoulders specifically in this movement, let them relax, okay? You're gonna have some tension in your grip. You have to have some there. But if you let the arms swing freely and you keep the shoulders relaxed, you're gonna see that you hit little scud missiles that are really fun to watch. It's fun to hit these little small shots, okay? So I'm gonna go through a little protocol here that you should all follow. You can mess around with it a little bit just to get it dialed in for yourself. So let me get the golf ball ready to hit. All right, so I'm gonna do a rep first, like first step, elbow, shoulders. I'm gonna do that probably twice. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing, but moving through it. Okay, now I'm gonna make a swing that's gonna feel those same positions. Just a little bit longer, I'm gonna try to hit a shot. So I just hit a really, really good tight 6-iron on a small draw with a little tiny baby divot on it. And it was right out of the center of the club face. So, yes, I know that the swing that I just made was much longer than the swings I was practicing, but now it's time to start seeing the fruits of our labor. I'm not trying to manufacture movement here. I'm trying to get into movement, right? Manufactured movement is what those first 2 steps are for. We want to make sure that we have some connection to these things, get connection to the wrists, the shoulder position, and how things are working down through the point of contact, and have some fun with this drill. Okay, I feel it. So that was really, really good. Probably the best one of the bunch. On a very tight little ball flight. So I'm seeing the body positions, I'm seeing the wrist functions, I'm getting the face squared up early. Now what you can do is you have the ability, if it feels too shallow, it feels too steep, to make some minor adjustments to your stance width. You can go wider if it's a little bit too steep and promote a little bit more tilt. You can go a little bit more narrow if you want to start flighting it down a little bit more. But the key is to understand that you need to allow the shoulders to start to tilt back, give it that little bit of rotation to help shallow it back out. It's a balancing act. Get the club face prepped, get your body in the right spot, and make sure that you start shaking the tension out of the arms and the shoulders as you go through it, and you're gonna find yourself in a position where you can compress the golf ball and de-loft it any way you want to.